And so we call the vehicle wrap our hamburger, and then we get those clients. We got a completely unsolicited offer from private equity to purchase the company. That lifetime customer value over 18 years of having this business becomes astronomical.
Hey there. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Breakout CEO Podcast. I'm Jeff Holman, and I'm here today with Heather. It's great to have you here. And so it's really fun to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So I just mentioned beforehand, and I probably am not alone. If you're in Utah and you've driven down I-15 through Salt Lake City, we've probably all seen you, the Queen of Wraps. We've seen your billboards or I think it was actually the side of a building, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that. And I think I've read a little bit about your history, but I'm coming in a little bit fresh here. So we're going to get the story on your background and then also what you're doing now, because I know you're leveraging what you did before into helping other people. So there's a story here to be shared, and I'm glad to be helping to bring that to the audience.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we've had 18 years. We've had that building on, it's literally the corner of I-15 and I-80 in
Nice.
Salt Lake City. And so it's kind of been an institution for 18 years. And it did not start out that way. It kind of just ended up like
You
that.
didn't just have a building and think I'll just land a business in here and everything will be fine, huh?
You know, it started with the storage set. So here's our origin story.
Well, and tell us what it was. Queen of Wraps. That's the name of the business, right?
Correct.
Is that also a moniker for you, or did you go by Queen of Wraps and the business was? There you go. I always wondered that. I drove by. I'm like, is this the person, or is this the business, or is this both?
Both. It's all encompassing.
Awesome.
So actually, our entrepreneurial journey, meaning I own the business of three of my brothers, and
fantastic.
We grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. Like, I was the only 8-year-old with a job. And my dad was super excited when fall break came and Easter break, because he had all this unpaid labor that we could go and
What did he do? How did he leverage you? What did he do to bring you? Did he have his own business?
Yes. So he, by day, he did medical sales, but by night, he owned a business brokerage because he wanted his kids to learn how to work. And so he would buy small businesses. He would break them up. You know, just the OG private equity would either buy other businesses, put them together, or break them up into pieces and then sell them. So we had like 1 million family businesses. So like an art gallery, a framing company, a cleaning company, a handyman service, a grease trap cleaning company.
Wow.
So ran the gamut. Like, my dad was completely industry agnostic. He just bought the companies, saw where he could add value, and then flipped them. So like, here's one example. I was, 12, 13, somewhere that age when you like wanted to spend the summer with your friends. And my dad did not think that was a good idea. So we owned a commercial framing company. So we not only built the frames like for artwork for a hospital in Lincoln, Nebraska, we loaded up a U-Haul.
Drove it out there?
The entire family drove it out to Lincoln, Nebraska. And I was literally holding the pictures while the actual employees who knew what they were doing were hammering them into the walls. And we did that for, I don't even know how many patient rooms, weeks we spent in Lincoln, Nebraska. And my dad was like, this is great, July in Lincoln. And that's what we did, like 12 hours a day. And that's just what the plan was.
That's so funny.
We grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. Like I said, this was not my dad's full-time gig. So he pawned a lot of the work, off to my brothers and I. So my older brother was, before he was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he was 18, 19, somewhere right in there. And that means I was 17.
Yeah.
And we were literally running a commercial cleaning company, doing that.
Meaning doing the cleaning.
Taking in invoices and calling customers. And we were running it.
Yeah.
And so we learned really early on what this looked like. So when an opportunity came, and I'll get into that in a second, we honestly didn't even think twice about it. It was like second nature to us because we had been doing, we knew what it took. We knew what the deal was from the beginning. So this was not like, oh, I'm going to go fly to the moon. It was like, oh, okay, here's a good idea. Let's go for it.
It was just like last spring break or
Correct. Yeah.
last summer.
Like,
No,
like
I've
this is easier being the boss than working for my dad. Let's put it
yeah.
that
Oh,
way.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I will say I've spent a summer or a week in the summer in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it is hot and the humidity will kill you. So
Yes.
that
And
was interesting.
there is relatively nothing to do for a 12, 13-year-old girl in Lincoln,
Yeah.
Nebraska. So
Yeah.
we were eating at Perkins Family Restaurant and like staying in the Best Western. Like it was, this was 20 years
It
ago,
was
30 years ago.
the
It
high
was,
life, right?
yeah,
Just
I
getting stuff
was,
done. Like that's how so I have a dad he's in real estate, but he's had his own thing. And as you're describing this, I think back to when I think I was 10 or 12 and I would get on the bus from here and we'd take a 30-minute bus ride north of here. Me and my brother and my sister who were I think my sister might have been 14 at the time. My brother was probably 12, I was 11 or something like that. We'd get on the bus. This was our summer job. We'd get on the bus, we'd go out to one of the apartment complexes that he had built and I think my sister would clean with the staff. And my brother and I don't remember what we did exactly, except we spent a couple weeks sweeping the parking lot and then by hand rolling new parking lines. I'm sure they look terrible, but that's what we did for like the whole summer. So it's just, you just, when your parents are in it, you're in it too.
that's exactly, and that's actually one of the things. I have two daughters, and they don't get away with anything now. Just because I sold
Yes.
Queen of Wraps doesn't mean that they're not doing things for me. Like they're working for me right now. It is, no, this is a family endeavor. This is not like, oh, okay, mom makes money this way. No, that's not how this goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a whole family plan here. I think that parents, so let me get on the soapbox for a second here. From the beginning of time, kids have gone to work with their parents. Like my parents spent 3 years or 2 years in South Africa. And it was not unusual to see babies, even toddlers, on the backs of these women while they're picking vegetables, while they're picking, whatever, cleaning. They go with the
Hmm.
mothers and learn how to work. And not only that, help. They're cleaning the vegetables, they're peeling the potatoes, they're doing all these different things. I don't know where we got off thinking, like my kids just had fall break last week. Like they don't need to go to a trampoline park. That's not what needs to happen. They need to like get real
Yes.
life skills and
Yeah.
learn, okay, this is what the plan is. This is what we're doing. They don't need to be entertained. They need to be taught how to work and how to be, efficient member of society. Anyway, that's a soapbox for another day, but I think we're
No, it's a
doing
fair
kids a
point.
real disservice by making their lives, rainbows and gumdrops.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have a 15-year-old still at home. My other three are out of the house now. And as I was driving him back, I'd taken him to tennis and I'm driving him back. I'm like, hey, we got to go clean the office building. Like this, that's one of my kids have all grown up cleaning and probably hating cleaning the office building, right? It's just, we do that. And it's a building we own and rent out and we clean it. And we've cleaned it every week for the last 12 years. Cause
Great.
that's what we need to do. Right.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't want to go clean tonight. We should have done it over the weekend. I'm like, well, we should have, but we didn't. And now it's got to be done. He's like, I want to go to the gym. And, I'm like, dude, I just spent an hour and a half waiting for you at your tennis lesson. Like, we're going to go clean now. And he's a great kid, right? He's really good. So I'm just putting him on the spot for maybe a little outburst in the moment. Right. But I agree with you 100%. It's a soapbox
Yes.
worth standing on for sure.
And I feel like, especially parents that grew up working like in family businesses and stuff, for some reason go the opposite. Like their kids shouldn't have these lives of working. And I feel my personal opinion is different than that. I feel like kids should learn how to work from an early age, and these are the responsibilities. This is our whole
Yeah.
family, and we're all in this together. We're all on a team. It's not, dad bringing in money, and no, that's not how this goes.
Well, it clearly worked for you and your brothers. You guys started, you said, was it 13 years ago or what?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. 18 years ago, you guys started this. Why? So how did you guys come upon this? Was this maybe something your dad said, hey, I saw this business, let's buy it and do it? Or did you start it from scratch? How did that start?
No. Okay. So this is like literally the craziest story you've ever heard in your life. So like I said, my dad had a business brokerage. He actually owned the brokerage that bought and sold these businesses. And so he, my younger brother, so we have 3 siblings that are very close, very, very close. And then we have a huge gap. We have 8-year gap. And then my youngest brother. So the 3 older kids. So my younger brother was 21. I was 23. And my older brother, the wise older brother was like 24, 25-ish at this point. And younger brother came home from his mission and got engaged, bought a house, going to school, no job.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad's like, why don't you pick out a company and you can run it and that'll be your job. And my brother, went through all the listings and stuff. It's like, Dad, I really want this inflatable company. And I am talking like giant gorillas at car dealerships. And my dad's like, yeah, that's not
slides and the obstacle courses.
Not even that. Not even as sophisticated as that. Literally like the gorillas and like the hot air balloons. Like that's it.
And those are rentals, I assume.
Correct.
People rent those out, you set them up for a while, and then you take them down to the next dealership.
That's exactly right. So he's like, I really want this inflatable company. My dad's like, there's no way in hell I'm buying this. And he's like, please, Dad, please. So my dad went and looked at the numbers and saw that this business was basically these giant inflatables that were 10 grand, 15 grand each. So he's like, okay, well, that's a really good depreciation that I can use this year on my taxes. So let's go ahead and do it.
Timing was right.
Like full well thinking my brother was going to run this into the ground and it was just going to be terrible.
Okay.
And so my younger brother, who is unreal, like I can't even tell you what an amazing person he is. Like as we speak right now, he's opening up his second Chick-fil-A restaurant. Like
really?
He's just unreal. Like,
and those are tough. Those are tough to get. Not many people open up one, let alone 2.
That's exactly. It is easier to get into Harvard Business School than it is to get a Chick-fil-A. And he has 2.
Wow,
so he's amazing. A pretty amazing person. So he's 21 and he's, got the eye of the tiger. And in the first year, he took it from 100,000 to $1 million with him and a guy that didn't speak English.
Wait, this is the gorillas. We're talking about the gorillas, not the Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is doing $1 million. You're telling me the gorilla business did $1 million. The inflatables was doing $1 million. Okay, that's
correct.
That's
extremely impressive. I mean, this guy could literally like sell sand in the Sahara. Like he is unbelievable. So he realized there were really only 2 calls to make because at that time in Salt Lake City, you have to keep in mind, this was like in Salt Lake, 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
2004-ish. There were only 2 major players, Ken Garff and Larry H. Miller.
Yeah.
So he made 2 calls and realized it was a lot easier to sell to an entire group than to go individually to these car dealers. So he found out who makes the decisions at these 2 companies, and he was off to the races.
And just for those who haven't, or maybe aren't from Salt Lake City, that's because those groups, they were actual groups. They had, how many dealerships would Larry Miller have across the country?
Hundreds.
He's been going, that was his deal. He built a $1 billion business out of it, bought the Utah Jazz from that. They owned across the U.S. Ken Garff, I don't know the size of it, might not be as big as Larry Miller, but multiples, it's right? Not.
But at that time, Ken Garff probably had, 30 to 40 dealerships. So 2 major players in the market, the rest were just kind of mom and pop stuffs. So he went and did that. And the thing about car dealers that is amazing, and other people are this way also, is that if they can make 1 call and get multiple things, they're going to do that. They want their lives to be easier. So pretty soon the car dealers started asking like, hey, can this gorilla hold a banner that says 0% financing? So my brother Matt said, yes, no idea where to get a banner, no idea what to do, gives them an invoice.
Not only can he hold it, we can print it for you.
Why not?
We'll bring it next week after we figure out what we're doing. Yeah.
And you pay for this up front, So he gives them an invoice and they're like, great, this is wonderful. So he's like, crap, what am I going to do? And our older brothers, who, the wise older brother, 24, 25 at this point, is a real technophile. And so Matt went to Nate and said, hey, I need to figure out how to print banners and what to do. And so to put a Band-Aid on it, Nate figured out where to buy it. And of course, we lost money on the first one and whatever.
Sure.
Nate figured out, hey, we need to buy this printer. We can do X, Y, and Z. These are the zip ties we need to use. He figured out all the specifics. He's a real operation genius, absolute genius with this.
Yeah.
So Nate started working at the family business at the Inflection Creations is what it was called.
Okay.
And then they started saying, the car dealers said, okay, well, can you guys do vehicle wraps? Now, I just want you to imagine Salt Lake City in 2005 at this point. We were not that far off from horse and buggies. This is a very unsophisticated market.
This was a little bit beyond, I remember my dad, again, in the real estate business years before that, but I don't think people were doing a whole lot of wraps 18 years ago, but he had those magnet sign that he had for a vehicle, it's like the for sale sign size, and it's whatever your business name, and slap it on, take it off, whatever. I don't remember how long he had that. It wasn't very long, but that's what people did that I remember.
Correct. And we had seen, my brothers and I had seen in other markets, New York, LA, Chicago, Miami, vehicle wraps, full bus wraps, full truck wraps, things like that. We had seen that in more sophisticated markets, but there was literally nothing going on in Salt Lake. And so we said, okay, this could be something. This could really turn into something. So we got together, and at that point, I was in, and my older brother and my younger brother, and then our youngest brother was in high school at the time.
And needed to do something on his spring break.
You got it. And, free labor is the best kind of labor. And so we came up with this business plan and said, hey, there's a real hole in the market. We should do vehicle wraps. And the funniest part was we didn't know anything about vehicle wraps, not even one thing.
Yeah.
But we wanted to convey that not only did we know what we were doing, we were the authority in town.
Well, and can I pause you there?
Yes.
Because some people may not make the jump. Vehicle wraps, they use the same or similar equipment as the vinyl banners, right?
Correct.
And so you guys had the equipment already. You bought it for the car dealership banners that held by the gorillas or whatever. So that's why that was the leap between what you were doing was just simply you had the equipment. How do we leverage that a little bit more or a lot more?
Exactly. You got it. You hit the nail on the head. That is what we've been doing for years and years. And remind me to come back to COVID, where we use our existing hardware and just put in a different material and able to get a whole new business plan, a whole new market out of using the same back end. So we started printing these car wraps, and we decided to call it Queen of Wraps for a couple of reasons. Number one, we wanted that authority. We wanted to just we aren't just good at wraps. We are the queen of wraps. We are it. We are the bomb.com type thing. And the other thing is, and I'm sure in talking to me, this is not a surprise to you or any of the listeners, but kind of rule the roost in my family.
I was going to ask, how did you get, because you had at least the two, you got, I think it's Nate, your older brother. Then there's you, and then what was your next younger brother's name?
Matt is the one that owns Chick-fil-A, and then Brian is my youngest brother.
And Brian's younger. So, yeah, it was interesting to me. As soon as you said, "Okay, it's me," and it was three brothers, I thought, what did Heather do to get Nate, Matt, and Brian, right, to agree to let you be the face of it? Was it an easy conversation?
It wasn't even a conversation. It honestly wasn't. It's okay, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing, and this is how you're going to help. Just Sunday dinner. Okay, here are your assignments. Be here at 5:00, and we are doing this game.
So it wasn't that somebody else said, hey, let's talk. Hey, how should we do this? How should we? And you just said, you know what? I've got a vision. Here's what we're going to do. Let's get going.
Well, we all had saw the market. It was just, it's not like I was the CEO or I was far from the CEO. I'm just the one with the loudest voice. And so my face is on the side of the building is basically what
you're the spokesperson.
Yeah. Yes.
Very good. Very good.
I've always been the marketing type person. and the branding type person. And so it was a slam dunk, the queen of reps. And honestly, like here's the real honest truth. You're getting the nitty gritty. There is a Seinfeld episode with the Wiz, and Elaine dates the Wiz. And we had seen that like a couple days before, and like the crown with the ting, and I am the Wiz.
Yes,
like, wouldn't that be awesome? And
that's where the crown came from.
Yep.
That is so funny.
Yep.
From the Wiz.
So there we are. That's how. And so we started that with a loan from Dad. And this was, I want you to keep in mind, 2005, 2006, 2007, like interest rates were 0.5%.
Right. Yeah.
My dad charged just 8%.
Wanted you to feel the reality when the economic situation in the society came back. This is how you need to plan for this, because it's going to be this at some point. And in fact, you guys may have been impacted by the downturn, the recession.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time. We were so young and so dumb and so stupid. 2007, 2008, like we didn't even know there was a recession going on. We had no clue. We were so inexperienced and young that our competitors literally like went out of business. We were the last man standing. We didn't even know it was an option to close the doors. We didn't even register, wasn't even on our radar, because we had never experienced anything like that. We just, okay, here's your business. You plan your work and you work your plan, and this is what you do. So that didn't even occur to us. And it wasn't until years after we were like, oh my gosh, we like crossed a threadbare rope bridge with alligators underneath snapping and, wanting to eat us. We didn't even know. We were just so ignorant and so young. It also helped that none of us had kids. My younger brother was married. I wasn't. My older brother wasn't married. Like my youngest brother was in high school living at home. It was just, it wasn't.
You were scrappy.
We didn't know what agile. We didn't know.
Yeah, no. And that's, and you didn't have any of the kind of the perhaps debt or the baggage that a larger company would have, or the staff that how do you keep the staff on? I think some people get tired, right? They get in their business, and when a downturn happens, they're like, you know what? I think it's just time. Like, it's been a long time. We've had a good run. Let's just succumb right now and call it a success that we were open for this long. And you guys are just getting started.
Correct.
Like you said, you're young, you're scrappy, you don't have a lot of the other obligations. Were you finding success during that time though?
Huge
or was
success.
it tough?
Giant
so even during the
success.
recession,
we grew big time. One of the biggest successes that we had is that the building, so we were storage shed behind Miller Honey on West Temple. Like, just think about that location, and so far back and behind a honey production. I mean, it was not glamorous. We knew that we needed more exposure. And so the thing about a downturn that's really interesting is you need to get a bigger piece of the pie. Well, smart businesses start marketing more rather than contracting their marketing budgets. They expand that. So they need a bigger piece. And so their marketing needs to go forward. So we knew the same thing. I mean, that was, business school 101. That's what it is. You need to get a bigger piece. This building became available on I-15 and I-80 right there on the corner. And it was vacated either just prior to 2007 or just like something happened. I can't remember the exact story, but the landlord needed that space filled like immediately, and especially in the recession. So we got heck of a deal on it. And it's 17,000 square feet, and it was way too big for our business when we first signed the lease. And so our original plan, in fact, we built a wall. We split the building up into thirds, and our plan was to take 1/3 and then sublease the other 2 portions of the building. Well, by the time we moved in, we tore down the walls that we had just built.
Oh, really?
Because we needed the space.
Wow.
That's how exponentially it grew. And it was all from, and we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. I'd like to bring this up. Like, we are drinking our own Kool-Aid. We have wrapped vehicles. We have banners on I-15, like literally the size of a billboard. And all we did was put up those banners and business just started flooding in. So that's a huge lesson that we learned is location, location, location.
Yeah.
You need to go where your customers are. And like you said, people are driving up and down I-15. That's where people are in Salt Lake City. They're driving up and down I-15. And so the other interesting thing is we learned very, very, very early on that man cannot live by wraps alone. The margins are razor thin in vehicle wraps. And so again, using our same hardware, our same back end, we like to call the vehicle wrap the Hamburger. So that's get our foot in the door. Most people that are getting a vehicle wrap, it's going to be their first huge marketing expense. So this is a pest control company. This is a plumber. This is a solopreneur. And the first thing they're going to do is wrap their company vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to grow with those clients. So now they need a trade show booth. Now they need banners. Now they need flags. Now they need t-shirts. Now they need, whatever these ancillary products are. And so we call the vehicle wrap our Hamburger, and then we get those clients. And a lot of times they came to us when no one else would work with them or no one else would extend them credit or different things like this. So they remembered how we treated them. We still make so many logos, you have no idea, because people just come to us like, I own Joe's Plumbing. Do you have anything? No, I don't even have a website. Okay, well, now you need to call this person. We're almost like their ad agency.
It's the same as the banner concept.
Correct.
I do inflatables. Can I do a banner?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. I'm curious though about this Hamburger thing. I haven't heard this before. Is it? No, it's our Hamburger. Does that mean like I go into a fast food restaurant, I want a burger, but then it's like I'm going to add some fries and a drink and maybe so the hamburger, like, am I getting that right?
Correct. So you lose money on the hamburger. Every hamburger that is purchased at McDonald's, they've lost money on.
I did not know this.
Really?
Yeah, no, this is in a business book I didn't read. Like I went to business school and I've never heard this hamburger analogy.
Leader. The other way to put it is a loss leader.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand that concept. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I like the hamburger concept. I'm going to use that.
So, and then we sell them the fries and the drink. So that's another lesson that we learned. So location, location, location. And then the second one is the lifetime customer value. If we just looked at our business by wraps, number one, our relationships would be nowhere. And number two, these customers aren't worth a lot to us. But if we can get them in infancy, then as they grow, that lifetime customer value over 18 years of having this business becomes astronomical. And so we learned that really early on. And I would I would give credit to my dad for teaching us this back in the day, back when, we were framing these pictures, when we were doing this cleaning. He didn't just see the customer as, what can I get, this pay period, or how can I do this? He could see the full picture. He could see, okay, this leads to point D. I want this business. I want this business. And so he's able to strategically leverage those relationships. And I feel like my dad is the original Michael Scott, the win-win-win. Like he wants every relationship to be a win-win-win. And so we learned that very, very early on. So when we started Queen of Wraps, it wasn't even like, oh, how do we do this? We already knew the play. We already knew what was going on. And so I felt like that really helped us expand into different product offerings using the same back end. Queen of Wraps actually ended up being 5 companies. Queen of Wraps is the only one that your average person would know, though. The 5 other vertically integrated companies that help with that stack.
Were those like the website design and the logos and or were they more diverse companies that went along with that?
So no, not website design. Well, logos our guys would do. Website design we would farm out to other people. But like, for example, my older brother, who I said is like an operations genius, he realized we were paying way too much for material because we were buying them from an in-between source.
Okay.
And he realized that if we bought pallets and truckloads of this material, we could become a supplier and therefore supplying ourselves with much cheaper material. So therefore our margins would be bigger than your average company. So he figured out blah, 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 I've got to do X, Y, and Z. And so he lined up truckloads and would sell to other companies this material.
Got it.
And
so a little vertical integration going on.
You got it. So some people might say, like, why would you sell wrap material to your competitors? Well, I'm paying less for that material than they are.
Right.
Like that, it makes sense. So if you look at the entire picture, it makes tons of sense.
Yeah, no, price leadership, like being able to sell for less and still maintain an acceptable margin that nobody else can beat. Then you can be the price leader in the market. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Well, I'm really curious.
That's just one example of something that we did.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really curious. So were there, like, was there a moment in your business, and we could, you and I think we have some parallels in how we were brought up and maybe our parents and what they did. And I think we could talk for a long, long time, but I want to be respectful of your time too. I'm curious though about growing that business, or, some part of either your development personally throughout that process or the business's trajectory. Like, was there a moment that really kind of flipped the switch for you guys? It sounds like you had pretty good success, maybe even great success right out of the gate. But were there any moments where you said, hey, we really have to shift how we're thinking, or we need to make a change in I don't know if you've changed in your team. That's hard when you have a family business.
Yes.
Change in your the market you're going after. Like what were some of the inflection points though throughout the 18 years?
So there are many. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
There are many. One I want to focus on is more of a personal inflection point. So we knew, again, from my parents, from my dad, we knew that we wanted a lifestyle business. So there, back to grad school, like you have a lifestyle business and you have a scalable business. Okay. A lifestyle business provided us trips to Disney World, provided us corporate retreats to, Alaska, whatever, this type of thing. So we knew we wanted a lifestyle business. The other thing is our underlying mission, our goal. Speaking of Chick-fil-A, so Chick-fil-A's goal, their mission, if you walk into any Chick-fil-A, is to glorify God.
Yeah.
That is their mission statement, is to glorify God. They happen to do that through chicken sandwiches, but their underlying mission is to glorify God. So we knew as a family that our underlying mission was to foster eternal relationships. We knew that was of paramount importance. Money was secondary. We knew that that's what it was. So for me personally, what happened was I was 30. So I eventually got married and blah, 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 blah. I was 30. I was pregnant and I was working in the business, and day to day, like this was literally like what I was doing. I was the director of sales. Like this is what the plan was. I was working in the business and I not unexpectedly, but at 36 weeks, I had my daughter, and I literally left my desk exactly as it was because in my mind, in 6 weeks, I was going to be back at that desk.
Was this your first child?
This is my first child. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
First child. And I was going to be in the hospital bed, and this is how old I am, working on my BlackBerry and like being on the cover of Mom CEO magazine. Like this is how it was going to go. I was going to go back to work. My daughter was born and blah, 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 blah. It became immediately clear. My daughter was born with special needs. And it was really, really difficult. Like I can't even explain to you how difficult it was. And I'm a new mom and I just had the C-section. And they're like, here, take care of this baby who has just spent time up at Primary Children. She was life flighted up to Primary Children's on her second day of life. And she never took a bottle, never breastfed, never anything. And I'm like, what have I done? Like, this is just insane. And basically the entire first year of her life, she lived at Primary Children's. And so I was with her. I was feeding her. I was pumping and putting it in a feeding tube, and she had a surgically implanted feeding tube in her stomach. It was a complete chaos.
Wow.
So
That's
my
so much to
life
deal with.
was extremely chaotic, and she had a surgically implanted feeding tube for 4 years. So I was pumping every 3 hours because she couldn't take formula in
Yeah.
order to have enough milk for this child that I was putting it in a feeding tube. I mean, it was just horrific. Like, I can't even explain to you how bad it was.
And I can't imagine that. I mean, it's so different from, one day you're in the office, you're like, I'll be back in a
Yes,
few weeks. And then 4 years or more later, right?
4 years.
I don't, I have 4 kids. None of them have special needs. They're all great. They all have their own challenges, right? But no one that you would classify as special needs. I have an uncle though, that's Down syndrome. I mean, he's in his 60s now. And I look at my grandma who raised him
It's a lot.
her entire life, right?
Yeah.
He was there the entire time. She passed away a few years ago. And I know it's I don't know exactly the challenges you've had, but I've watched family with some of those ongoing responsibilities. I don't even want to call it a challenge, although I know it's hard. I don't think my grandma would have ever called it a challenge, right?
It's
There's
just
challenges
different.
but it's different responsibilities than what you think you're going to, than
Correct.
when you're like, I'm going to go back and,
Yes.
I'll be back in the office and I'll deal with those responsibilities
Yes.
soon. That was totally derailing for you.
Completely derailing. There's an old story about, like, you really, really want to go to Italy, and you plan this trip to Italy, and you get your passport and you plan out your itinerary and everything. And then you get on the plane and the plane lands and says, "Welcome to Holland." And you're like, no, 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 I was supposed to go to Italy. I was supposed to go to Italy. That's where I'm supposed to go. But then you live in Holland and you realize, like, oh, Holland has tulips. Holland has windmills. It's just different. You thought it was going to be one way, but your life is different.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to me. And shout out to my brothers and my entire family, because we knew the mission. Their niece, so my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
getting her better was the most of paramount importance. The business was secondary to all of this. And so my checks kept coming in. I still had ownership in the business. I was still getting dividends. I was not drawing a paycheck because I wasn't working there, but I was still getting dividends and the benefits of the business because of my ownership. And shout out to my brothers, who are just amazing, kind, wonderful human beings. Never once did they begrudge me for not showing up every day, for not, like, we would have a board meeting and my daughter would be in surgery. Sorry, I can't go. We would have a big deadline and they would send out an all hands email, and I would literally show up with my baby because I couldn't hire a babysitter because she had such acute needs. Like, she would come with me. And yeah, that sucks when you have a kid in a commercial printing shop, but I didn't have any options. Like, do you want me to help? Like, this is, and my brothers were so Christ-like and so kind, and like, hey, we're all in this together. Let's get this girl better. And so during that time, I stepped back, and coincidentally, not planned, not anything, like, this just happened to be at the same time frame. My youngest brother, had applied to get a Chick-fil-A franchise. And it takes years to get these things. And so blah, 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 like, in, I don't even know what year, maybe 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. I don't know what year he got this. Chick-fil-A called out of the blue, was like, hey, are you still interested? And so he started down that road. So by the end of these 5 years, let's call it 5 years. So my daughter went back. We finally got ready, like, for life, and we got it all sorted out, and she went to kindergarten, and then I was ready to go back to work at that point. So about 5 years into this, my other brother got a Chick-fil-A right at that exact same time. And both of us realized, like, this business is doing better without us.
Really? So wait, you had two brothers, your youngest and so that was Matt and Brian, right? I think.
Nate is the oldest. He's my COO. And then Brian is my youngest. He's the CFO. Those were the two last standing in the business.
Okay.
Working day to day.
Okay. So they're in the business.
Brother and I ended up leaving the business, the day-to-day business, 2011 for me, April 13th, 2011, because that's when my daughter was born and my life completely changed. And then Matt was probably like 2014, 2015, somewhere right in there. And so by then, our youngest brother had gone to school, became the CFO, and really just took this to all new heights, could see like, hey, here's our break even. Like he was the one doing all these projections and doing all of this. I totally forget the name, but in grad school, they teach you like, here is the point that you need to make where your revenue, your margins go exponentially. Your baseline
Over
stays the same.
Your fixed costs and your variable costs,
There you go.
you cover all your fixed costs. All of a sudden, everything you make above that,
It's just
variable costs, and so there's a way higher profit margin for that portion.
And you can scale.
Yeah.
And so he figured out that inflection point, and he realized, okay, we're really going to take this off if we get to this point in sales. I think it was like 6 million in sales or something like that. Mm-hmm. Anything above that is just going to be astronomical growth. And not only astronomical growth, astronomical cash. And so we were like, my brother Matt and I were like, dude, we're just going to mess this thing up. These guys have got this thing figured out. Like, we're bogging them down at this point. So we just got out of their way. And of course, we went to board meetings and voted on things. And it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns and stuff. It was, there was some, okay, I think we should buy this $1 million machine. Oh, okay, I think we should invest in this, that type of thing. But pretty hands off until, so then fast forward. So I'm going to skip over lots here.
Yeah. So 5 years later, right? Your daughter's going to kindergarten. Is this the point
my daughter's going to kindergarten? And then let's see, 2000, just recently. So 2024, last year, my youngest went to first grade. And so I was like, okay, I can go back to Queen of Wraps full time. Like I have done it. Like this is like I paid my dues.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go back. And right at that exact moment, in fact, like a week before school started, we got a completely unsolicited offer from private equity to purchase the company, to purchase the majority share in the company. And we all said, yes.
It was an easy decision.
This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've done all of this for, is this payoff at the end.
Yeah.
I equate that to buying a house or like building a house. So many people build a company and then never actually exit. Like that's where the realization of the money comes.
Right.
And so we had this unsolicited offer from private equity. And we sold on December 19th. It went very, very, very quickly. I think August 5th or so is when they sent us the LOI, and we closed December 19th. So
4 months or so, something like that. And you guys, August, September, October, November, December. 4 months, and you guys had closed, and that was the end of last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just barely.
So what is that? I mean, what has that done for you then to be able to sell that? Like you guys put, I don't know if I have my math right, 21 years into this, given the ups and downs and the family situations and stuff like that, 21 years, that's not an easy run. I mean, that's a great run, right?
Yeah.
But it's never easy.
No.
How did you, and your brother, at least one of your brothers, maybe multiples, had some other stuff they were doing. Like, how'd that work out for you guys?
Wonderful. So first, like amazing, wonderful. And everyone took away what they needed. Like here, let me give you some examples. My older brother decided he just wanted the cash and just move on and no equity in the new company. Just, hey, I trust myself, but I don't trust these other guys with my money. I'm a gambler, man. I rolled 70% of my equity. Like I took 30% in cash. I rolled 70%. I also have a husband who brings in money. And so I don't necessarily need to have all of this cash. And also my estate couldn't absorb that much cash.
Yeah.
And then my brother that owns the Chick-fil-A, he's off doing other stuff. So that doesn't matter to him. And then my youngest brother, like I said, he's significantly younger than us. He didn't want his kids to see him retired. He's like, I'm way too young. I can't, my kids need to see me going to work every day. This is not real life. This is, not what happens. And so he actually ended up taking a position in the new company, and he's the director of vice president of acquisitions or something like that. He does some, title for this private equity company as part of his deal because he wanted a job. He wanted to actually keep going in this. So we all kind of took what we needed from this, and it's been great. I mean,
well, that's an amazing journey. And you've you're leveraging that now too, right?
Correct.
Like I've seen you on LinkedIn, and that's how we connected. I reached out and I said, I want to hear your story, because I know there was a story behind this next stage that you've jumped into now. Tell us a little bit about what you're onto now.
So this is the villain origin story. Let's put it right here.
Did you say villain origin?
Yes.
Okay.
This is my villain origin story. So I love my husband. He's so great and he's so wonderful, and it's perfect. But December 19th of 2024 was the first time that I had my own money, and not had my own money, had a lot of my own money.
Yeah.
And the freedom that has afforded me has been unreal. Not just the financial freedom, but the emotional and the mental freedom that provides. I do not have golden handcuffs. I am choosing this relationship every single day. I get up in the morning and I am choosing this relationship. This is not because I'm well taken care of and because, we have a house in Newport and, I drive nice cars and stuff. No, this is, I want to be in this relationship. And I have 2 daughters. And so this became extremely personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
So December 19th, I go and do the holidays, and I'm getting my goals for basically the next 5 years of my life. I'm sitting down.
Can I jump in here? Because
yeah,
I think I do want to hear about what you're doing next, but I don't want to gloss over what you've just said. And forgive me, because I don't know if I relate 100% to what you're saying, but I think a lot of women probably would. Maybe break that down for me a little bit more. Pretend I'm a man and I don't know anything. Because you explained that. I think you probably explained that really, really well for people who have the context. You said you don't have golden handcuffs. Normally I would think of that. I'm an attorney. And so I think of that in terms of, I have a job and I stay at a larger law firm, which I don't, because I don't have golden handcuffs either. But I stay at a larger law firm that I don't even like, and I'm doing stuff with my life that I don't necessarily want to do because I make too much money and I've spent too much money. You used it in a really different way, I think, talking about, the value of your relationship isn't tied to call it the financial or other, perks of being married to someone who makes sufficient money for your family, right? You're talking now about, I think, self-worth and your self-image, not just the money but maybe the money is one of the factors that helps you to stand on your own. Am I sort of getting it?
Yes. And yes to every single thing you just said. Okay, so I'm 44 years old and I am in a situation where a lot of my friends are getting divorced. A lot of people in my neighborhood, a lot of people in my church are getting divorced. And these are people who have been together 20, 25 years. These are people who, several of them married to doctors, lawyers, whatever, all of these different people. And for lack of a better, being tasteful about this, but a lot of these women lead really good lives, like really good lives. And they just stay in these relationships because they're leading really good lives.
Because they're not, meaning from the outside, they're getting what you would think everybody would want in terms of maybe
correct
taking care of themselves or perhaps being taken care of, or
correct.
They've got the necessities. They're able to work or not work if they want to,
correct.
drive the nice car if they want to, have the nice
correct.
house. Yeah.
However, and I think it's my age. Honestly, I think there's kind of like a breaking point in your 40s. Several of these relationships that I am witnessing firsthand from very close friends are abusive relationships. Addiction plays a huge part. Different things that you would look from the outside and you're like, oh, that really looks fantastic. And then on the inside, your friend has bruises on her chest. Your friend has, trauma from I am not saying it's anyone. I'm not putting blame on anyone. I am nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, it's life. And we're not here to condone it or to condemn it necessarily. It's that happens and life, maybe takes us or drags some of us through different challenges. But you're saying that people are staying in those challenges, or they have been staying in those challenges. And now you're seeing people step up and say, I'm no longer going to deal with this challenge. I'm done. I'm going to live my own life.
And that might not mean that you have 2 vacation houses. That might not mean that your kids go to private school. That might not mean that you are now going to all of these benefits, concerts, and all. You might have a very different lifestyle. You might now be living in, you come from a 6,000 square foot house and now you live in an 1,100 square foot apartment with your 5 kids. So that's what I'm saying as far as like these golden handcuffs go. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is personal friends that I am seeing that are staying in these lackluster relationships where they're just like, well, it's not that bad. I'm taken care of. My emotional needs are not being met. My mental needs are not being met, but my debit card works when I go to the grocery store. And
so it's an either or, like maybe emotionally I'm not really taken care of, but otherwise I am, or, and if I didn't have this, maybe I wouldn't be taken care of, but my emotion, it's a rough time. I'm in my late 40s, know, and I think I see a lot of the same things that you're seeing. And so I get that. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that and you've pointed out that you've got the luxury of making a choice to stay, making it a point that this is not that you're dealing with any of this. I don't have any idea. We haven't gotten into that, nor will we, but you've got the luxury of providing for yourself and being able to make the choices that you want to make, that maybe and having is luxury might be the wrong word. Maybe I'll let you summarize it for me, because I'm trying to get to a point. Yeah.
And so I came to all of this realization all at once because, like I said, I have 2 daughters and I don't ever want them to be in a position. I don't want any women, like I'm making a blanket statement here.
Sure.
I don't want any women to stay in a relationship that is not mutually beneficial. I want women in general to choose to be in these relationships, and having your own money and a lot of your own money really gives you, like I said, that emotional, that mental, and that financial freedom where you say, okay, you know what? Here's something. He leaves the dirty socks on the ground and that annoys the hell out of me. But you know what? I'm willing to put up with that. I love him and I'm choosing this relationship. Or the flip side is, I'm completely alone in my marriage. I'm a single mom in this marriage. I happen to be married on paper, but that's not, my experience. Yeah. Like, I don't see marriage as an actual partnership. And so having this money gives women that emotional and that mental freedom along with that financial freedom. And so I really have a fire lit underneath me. Like, I want other people to experience this because it has been so life-changing for me. It's almost like, so again, we live here in Salt Lake. And in the winter, there is this layer of just gunk. We live in a valley.
Yes,
it's the Salt Lake Valley. It's so gross. It
makes our air quality lower. Like, it's the worst in the world when that's happening. Like, I've been to Beijing in the wintertime, and I'm looking at the, whatever you call it, the pollution, right, in Beijing. And here in the inversion, it's worse. For those of you who haven't been here, come skiing. You'll be up above the inversion. It's really interesting. But if you're down in the valley, it locks in the pollution until the storms come and clean it out.
And it's really, really weird because when you go outside in its inversion, it's clear skies and the sun is shining. And so you're like, oh, it's a sunny day. You just kind of like going about your life. And then if you go, like you said, up into the mountains, you can see this layer of gunk. You can see like, whoa, this is not sunshine. It's like you're seeing the sun for the first time. You're seeing the sky for the first time. You were in this haze, and what you thought was reality is not actually reality.
No.
And that's honestly how I felt, prior to December 19th, like, okay, this is my reality. This is what's up, whatever. And now I see the light and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to get the word out on this. Like, we need to get this out here. I have now dedicated the next 5 years of my life to helping 100 females become millionaires through exits because it has been so empowering to me. That's one reason.
Yeah.
The second reason is I have so much press. I'm on a podcast right now. I get asked to do all of these things. I have 3 brothers that also got rich. No one calls them.
Well, I mean, to be fair, none of them were the queen of raps, right?
Well, that's true. That is true. However, we all got rich, but that's not a novelty. That's not a story. Middle-aged white guy in Utah getting, selling a company. That's
Right.
not interesting. The, 24-year-old Mormon female founder who sold her company, let's put her on, Utah Business. Let's interview her for this.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I shouldn't be a novelty. I shouldn't be, a unicorn. This should be an everyday thing. So number one is I want to help other women experience this freedom. And then number two is I want more women in the game. I feel like entrepreneurship for women is a slam dunk career. I feel like it is the best career as far as really having it all, taking care of your family, being able to be married, having that flexible time to go volunteer at the school, to drive carpool, all of these different things. It gives you that flexibility. And then third is that scalability. I think women are extremely entrepreneurial. In Utah, the stats are staggering. It's like 70% of new business licenses go to females. So they're very, very entrepreneurial. However, I don't know. I haven't quite put my finger on this, but I either think it's lack of confidence or lack of knowledge for that scaling aspect. So it's okay to have an Etsy shop and like go down and get the ribbon and make the hair bows and put them in the envelope and send them out. But scaling that enterprise is like, whoa, that's crazy. I can't do that. Back to these friends that I have. I have two friends right this instant that are going through divorces and whose husbands are surgeons. And both women set up the practices, did all of the stuff, and neither one of them finished undergrad. Both of them supported their husbands through fellowship and training and all these different things. And in talking to these women, I'm like, okay, why don't you start a business? And both of them said, well, I don't have any business training.
Even
like,
though they'd set
up
the medical practices. Yeah. No, I totally understand. My wife, Brooke, is amazing. And she was out, our youngest went to, I don't know, first grade or whatever. And she said, hey, I'm going to go find a job. I want to do something. And she actually has like 5 different jobs that she does because everybody wants to work with her. But at one point I said, hey, if you want, you would be awesome at helping to run the law firm.
Yeah.
And I will say she is the one who brings the underlying abilities for us to actually scale. Like I could be an attorney, I can practice, but to actually scale as myself alone, that would be almost impossible, right? For lots of reasons. But having her and then the team and the frameworks and the structure she brought has been awesome. I've wondered though, because there is this factor in the law specifically where that says, if you're not an attorney, you can't be an owner in a law firm. And so we've always had this strange dynamic where, she applied to be in the Global Sachs small business, 10,000 small business program and loved it. We had to clarify for them, well, she's not an owner, but only because like technically by legal ethics rules, she can't be. And I want to be in a position where I'm supporting her to make that exit of sorts. It's just, and so we've had to kind of divide the business up. And I said, hey, I'm not going to I want you to be able to run all the operations of the business as if it's your business. Scale it if you can scale it, run if you run it. But I don't know, there's that dynamic. And so I guess what I'm saying is we're seeing it. And I'm not sure if I'm holding her back sometimes because she's so talented, or if, I'm certainly glad for the talents and everything she's brought to the company. But I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like, to your point, so these friends whose husbands are surgeons, medical has the exact same thing. It's called a operating agreement or something like that, where you have to do that. And like the doctor actually owns the practice because they make all the medical decisions. And
Right.
Then the operating agreement, says we'll take 80% of the profits or whatever it is, like that type of thing. So, there are ways around it, especially for these two women I'm speaking of in particular, whose husbands are surgeons. Like you could do the other thing is skills are transferable. Like if you built up a practice, there's no reason why you can't build up a hair salon. There's no reason why you can't build up a furniture store.
Right.
HVAC, like there's a trade show, whatever. Like there's no reason. They're all business is business. It's not.
So what's holding them back, or what's holding people back in general, do you think?
I feel like confidence and knowledge. So I feel like that confidence of well, let me answer that with a quote from Tiger Woods. So he was playing at something and whatever, and they asked him, Tiger, like what happened on hole 13? Like, you were too over. And he said, oh, you know what? I just had a bad day. And then I just moved on and I did this. And I know that I'm better than these guys. So I'm going to come out tomorrow and I'm, going to do it. And at the same time, the women were having a championship. And I forget the golfer's name. I'm sure this is an old story. So I'm sure that
some of the audience
someone
will
knows
know.
this.
Yeah.
And a woman had a problem on the exact same hole. And the lead golfer, the Tiger Woods of women, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know her name. And she's like, oh, man, and took it more personally, like, oh, I failed at this and whatever. And her confidence was shaken by that. Whereas Tiger was like, yeah, I had a bad moment, but I moved on. The woman internalized it. Tiger did not.
Yeah.
And I think that women have a lot of amazing attributes that men might not necessarily have. And those are great and those are wonderful. But confidence is something that we need to work on. And again, going back when they are kids, back to my parents, like I have 3 brothers. My brothers are 6'2", 6'1", they're much bigger than me, much stronger than me. But when it was time to rake the yard, we were all out raking the yard. When it was time to go clean chairs, we had an upholstery cleaning company, go clean chairs, they would be moving the furniture and I would be doing like the vacuum thing. We were all working. I was not treated any differently because I was a female as opposed to my male counterparts. So I think that again starts in the home. Like, girls, step up, let's help our women, let's help our future women step into those roles, get those confidence, get those reps.
Yeah.
So when the time comes, they can have the confidence in themselves. Like, yes, I built this practice for 18 years. Yes, my husband is the talent, but I am really the person who's keeping this all together, just like your wife.
Yeah.
My husband might have the law degree. He has the piece of paper, but I am running this show.
Yeah. I think I'm really lucky. If I didn't have my law degree, she'd probably be doing this without me.
And there are so many women that have those capabilities. They just need to step into that power, step into that confidence, take that seat at the table. So working on that confidence. And then number 2 is the knowledge. I feel like women need a lot more base knowledge before they feel like they're qualified.
Which might be a confidence thing too, right? They don't want to just jump into it until they feel like they're ready. And my wife talks about the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program as being really a big stepping point for her, where she gained a lot of confidence to feel like she knows what's going on. Well, so this has been fantastic. How would people, the women listening to the show, or maybe some of the men who know some women listening that should talk with you, who would you say would be at the right stage to reach out to you about what you're doing? And then what's the best way to get a hold of you or get in touch with you?
So right now, I don't do startups. Let me just tell you that right away. I've been there, done that. I'm way too old.
Yeah.
So my ideal client, I will work with women or men because I feel like a rising tide lifts all ships. And so I know that if I work with men, it'll help women. I just have a soft spot for the women. So my ideal client would be someone who's ready to scale, meaning that they have about 10 employees-ish, $1 million in top line revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a repeatable process is basically what I'm looking for. And I like to just come in and pour rocket fuel. That is my jam. I love that growth stage. And then once you hit about 15, I don't really have much interest. It's that in between stage, that scaling stage that I have a passion for and I'm good at.
Well, I think it's a good stage. There's a lot of, I've talked to other owners where that's the hard part, right? Getting really to kind of your first million, you can kind of do that on your own without the systems, with a small team. But getting beyond that, you either have to grow your chaos in some way and manage that while or you have to start putting systems in place. You have to start building processes. You just have to start getting repeatable things. So that's a tough zone for people. So it sounds like it's probably a really good time to have somebody who's been there step in.
And the funny part is a lot of entrepreneurs, I would call mavericks, like the maverick. Mm-hmm. I'll figure this out. I don't need a coach. I don't need a consultant. Right. And so here's my third caveat. So they need to have about 10 employees. They need to have $1 million in top line. And third, they need to have worked with a consultant before, because I don't want to be breaking in any horses. Like, this is not, they need to know my value before I walk in the door.
That's funny. I don't want to break in any horses.
Yeah, it's hard to be the initial, you become the focal point of like all the rage and the hatred of that scaling, because there are a lot of growing pains in scaling. And so
that's
they
like,
have to,
sounds like being a parent. You're being a parent to a teenager.
yes.
It'd be nice to be a parent to someone who's been a teenager before, I guess. That might
Wouldn't
be
that be
easier.
amazing? Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's exactly. Those are my 3 qualifications for people that I work with. And yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. My company's called Buy Scale Sell. You can find me at buyscalesell.com. I'm really active on LinkedIn. I post every day, just random, seemingly random. My brain is always going, 1,000,000 miles an hour. And so they connect to me, but other people it might seem random. But different thoughts on business and entrepreneurship and women in business, leadership. And like I said, I've literally dedicated the next 5 years of my life to helping other people get to that exit.
yeah.
Because I'm just a fan, man. This has been wonderful for me and life-changing, and I want other people to feel that.
Experience the same thing. Well, I love the offer, and it's been I found you on LinkedIn. I mean, of course, after driving by that building so many times, found you on LinkedIn when you started speaking out about the buy, sell.
Buy, scale, sell.
Buy, scale, sale. I messed that one up, but we got to repeat it a couple times. Buy, scale, sale. That's where to find you. After seeing you start posting about that, that's when I'm like, this is a really interesting story. So it's been fantastic talking to you. I've taken way too much of your time. Your cleaners have probably come and are already going, at your place. So I'm glad I haven't interrupted that, I guess. But thank you so much for taking the time to be on here, Heather. It's really been a pleasure. And I think our audience is going to get a ton out of this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun. And for the audience, thank you for joining us again on the Breakout CEO podcast. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next week.